Hello, welcome to the Always Be Comedy podcast. Our guest today, one of the greatest to ever hold a mic. And Tim, I would say while we were chatting, the penny sort of dropped that this is a guy that's been he's been one of the very best for 40 odd years. Anyway, it's the great Mark Steele.
Yeah, just an Always Be Comedy favourite, a South London hero, I think it's fair to say, and someone who's played for gig a lot. And we really just love the guy. He's someone you see a lot. You play football with him most weeks, and there's a Palace connection. Yeah, it's a lovely, lovely thing.
I do love Mark enormously. I mean, that will come through. Tim, am I making? I don't want to make him older than he is, but he started in the 80s, didn't he?
I believe so. Yes. And guys, sorry to get so trite. He's only getting better.
Tim, what a line. That is so true. The past few shows of his I've seen, I've actually enjoyed them more and more. Tim, McTominay-esque bicycle kick. You're absolutely right. So you can check out, and I'm sure you already do, but Mark Steele's in town. One of as iconic as it gets for comedy and the radio, and he's through being a brilliant stand-up and through that show, he's just accumulated this fantastic audience. I mean, we really get into it. I mean, also Mark Steele is one of those guys. While he was talking, the little voice in my head was thinking, "Oh, Mark, we could have you on every single week."
Yeah, this is a monster episode. He's got a lot to say all the time, which is a fantastic thing. But yeah, as you will see the runtime, bloody hell, this is.
He's got a special gift. I've got some Nivea lip balm here that belongs to one of the kids. I could, with Mark, he's one of those guys. I could say Nivea lip balm. All right, other lip balms are available, whatever. Nivea lip balm, and he'd go, and he'd have a 10-minute story about lip balm. And then I've got a Captain America Lego here. I'd love to say that's the girls. No, that's mine. I could say, and America. He's such a special talent. He's obviously a phenomenal stand-up, and his improv skills are among the very best. The dude is the guy's a comedy Jedi. He really is at that level now, and we love him a great deal. So Mark Steele we think will be back at Always Be Comedy before too long. As we mentioned on this podcast, the plan is to play the London Palladium, and if he does the Palladium, he's probably going to need a room to run through the show before he does the Palladium, and so watch this space and all of that. So it's not just Mark who'll be playing Always Be Comedy. See what I've done here in the coming weeks and months. Tim, we've got the likes of. We just added a show. We're adding a third act, quite literally right now. Friday the 9th of January, Ivo Graham, Finn Taylor, and then TBC. On the 2nd of December, Sarah Pascoe, Jordan Brooks, Ori Styler. Tim, there's some mammoth shows coming up.
Yeah, I mean, just those two alone are completely massive. I was watching Jordan Brooks reels this morning, in fact, and he is one of my favorites to watch. And then obviously Pascoe and Ori Styler, just two of the biggest comedians right now, both on absolutely massive tours, which you should all check out. Really, yeah, a lot going on.
Speaking of massive tours, Michelle de Swart is obviously on her The Afters tour, which has been epic, selling out big old spaces here, there, and everywhere. Before she goes back on tour in 2026, she needs a place to run through the show. Tuesday the 24th and Wednesday the 25th of February, Michelle de Swart is running through acclaimed barnstorming tour show, The Afters, at Always Be Comedy. These and many more. There's a Lou Sanders work in progress on the 23rd. There's the likes of Mike Rice. Tim, we've added 2 shows with the icon Mark Thomas as well.
Yes. Oh, man. Again, a very, very similar to Mark Steele in so many ways, and just an absolute hero of the game at this stage. We had him do a whip, but I can't wait to see him in like a 20-minute club format. I think that's going to be really, really fascinating.
So we are adding shows all the time. We added quite a few yesterday. I'm adding more right now. please visit alwaysbecomedy.com/tickets. And in the meantime, here is the great man, Mr. Mark Steele.
I'm doing the Palladium, but I don't know when. So that's a sort of
Great.
difficult.
Oh my God.
Next May, I think. Looks like it.
The tour show.
Yeah.
Amazing.
We're just talking about it now. I've got to make my mind up whether or not to do it.
I think you've got to do it.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't want to do. So the thing is, it's a bit right. So is this part of it? We can have this as part of the.
Right, here we go. We've started.
Right, yeah.
Started.
So I'll do it. So there are some theatres that, like, I was at, as we speak now, 3 nights ago, I was at the Theatre Royal in Brighton, and it was pretty full up. And that's one of my favourite places. It's just a beautiful old theatre, and it's sort of, there's probably a little bit of ego in it. Well, there's probably a huge amount of ego in it. You think, oh, this is proper theatre. Ooh, I expect, Mortimer Wise will have been here. Big Theatre Royal place. And also it's a great theatre, and it looks beautiful and everything. And it's all the sort of old dressing rooms. They're all little, wooden and short, and it was built when people were 4'6", so you have to duck under everything. But when people go, oh, it must be so exciting to play a place like that, and it is if it goes well. But it's a bit like when people say, oh, can you imagine what it must be to bat at Lord's or to go out to play at Wembley playing football? Well, not really. It depends how you do. If you go out to bat at Lord's and you're bowled first ball, that's fucking horrible. You'd rather be playing at South Norwood Lakes and be bowled first ball, wouldn't you? So no one could see.
I played it
at Wembley and hit a big back pass that goes straight to Haaland and he pops it in, do you? I
played at Wembley for some, I don't know, yeah, but mate, it's not a core memory because I was crap. You're absolutely right. If I'd scored at Wembley, mate, I'd have.
Who are you playing for?
Bear in mind how many years we've known each other, and I've never brought this up because I'm backing up your theory. If I'd scored at Wembley when we first met, I'd have mentioned it. I think I might have been at the London paper, and so I'm pretty sure I was, or maybe shortlist, and so you'd get invited to all sorts of weird and wonderful things. Played at Upton Park, again, crap. I was quite a good golfer. I've played at quite a few. I played with Paul McGinley at Wentworth. In fact, that's when I bumped into Russ Abbott. That was great.
Oh, the sentence, that's when I bumped into Russ Abbott, it should not be overlooked.
Well, I'll whip through it very quickly. He's such a, to say he's a hero is an understatement. Well, one of my gateways into comedy is you can see Tim got me a Russ Abbott annual. You can see that over my shoulder there. So much I love him. So he's in the car park, and you're like, you can't bother him. He's here to play golf. He's in the car park. But then I'm like, if I don't go over and tell that man that I love him, I'm going to live with that for the rest of my life. So I went over and I said, look, Russ, and I just all came out. And I think for the first almost full minute of me talking, because he feels maligned, he feels he was unfairly put on the same pile as some of the 70s lot. So I think for the first minute he's thinking, is this guy taking the piss? And then I revealed that I'd seen him in Bournemouth. The family holiday revolved around seeing Russ in Bournemouth. and then I think he thinks, all right, he's telling the truth here. And then I said something like, I put you on the same pedestal as Eric Morecambe. And then his face, he just went, what a lovely thing to say. And so we'd have this perfect moment. We shook hands. He's like, thank you. And I'm like, no, Russ, thank you. Songs of joy, tears of sadness, perfect. If that had ended there, it's a perfect moment. And then over the course of the day, if we must have bumped into each other half a dozen more times. So like I've sliced the ball on the fourth and we have to walk past it. Oh, songs of joy, tears of sadness. Walk past him again on a grid. Oh, there we go. And then I walked past him against him in the clubhouse, and he would have every right to just tell me to just fucking leave me alone. But yeah, we tried to get in touch with him via Les Dennis because we had Les on the pod. But I think Russ is sort of in exile in Portugal.
All right.
Happily, I think.
I mean, I hope he is happy. But I've heard from a couple of people that I think he still feels a bit upset that he doesn't get the credit he deserves.
Yeah, well, I've not got. I'm slightly sympathetic, but not all that sympathetic to people, but to those sorts of people, because I think they do have to acknowledge that things change. It's a bit like a sort of, I don't know, it's like a batter in cricket that's sort of, I don't know, not the same.
No, I do know exactly what you mean.
If you're in a team and now they've got a new way of playing and now they're thrashing the ball everywhere, and you're going, why don't they give me?
And you're 35.
Yeah, and when I used to bat all day for 70, that's not a very good example, is it? You've got to acknowledge. I mean, I sort of see my audience is of a certain age, and I don't quite know how I get a sort of younger audience coming along. But then I think, well, I'm not going to, because I don't think like a 25-year-old. And that's not to say there aren't some that are going to like you, just like there are some 25-year-olds who are going to love Russ Abbott. And you've just got to accept that times change, that young people, it's like being a musician at any point in life, and you'll have some young fans, but not many 30-year-olds are going to be big fans of sort of, I don't know, avant-garde jazz or something, are they? There'll be a few, but you can't go around being grumpy about that.
I think it was Eddie Large. I think when Little and Large, when their time came to them, I think Eddie Large is like one of the few people that were like, yeah, no complaints, had a great run, things change. And I think you've got to be like that. I mean, if I was Russ's mate, I would say, if I was you, I'd focus on the fact that you were top of the heap for a good few years in the 80s and sort of be proud of that rather than feeling maligned. I imagine if the BBC would make, and they could do this, a Heroes of Comedy Russ Abbott and like an hour of talking heads interspersed with sketches. I think that would do him.
I mean, the thing is, people far more recent than that are now, someone like Harry Enfield, who I still think of as being one of the most famous comics I've ever come across. I know Harry a bit, and but he's very much like, in my time, I had plenty of time doing what I wanted, 30 years or whatever, and now that's gone. And I don't know. I think you've got to accept that, wouldn't you? I know there's certain people like. I got very interested in Freddie Starr a little while ago.
Oh my God. We had someone down from Royal Variety at ABC the other night, and once I'd started talking about Freddie Starr, I couldn't stop. I went, have you ever seen, I said, I think Freddie Starr's the first person in history to get an encore at the Royal Variety. And this person was like, oh, I didn't know that. And I was like, you've got to see the set. And I think Jimmy Tarbuck's the compere. He does Jagger, the one where he sinks to his knees and comes back up. Yeah. Perfect. And then he does a set at the Palladium where he does Vincent with the tape slowed down.
Yeah.
That routine is, oh my God, it's unbelievable.
So for people who don't know, it's like he does a big sort of over-dramatized production about how we can't stand people using backing tapes.
He goes, they're cheating.
Yeah, and then he's obviously got a backing tape, and it's speeding up, and so he's speeding up all his actions and slowing down the dancing and stuff as he's doing it, and it's brilliant. And he was a terrific impressionist, I think, for music.
He's Johnny Mathis. He's amazing.
Yeah, and he did lots of that. But I don't know him or anything. I think his downfall was he couldn't see that other people younger than him were now doing things that were as good, if not better than, and more relevant than what he was doing. And his other problem was he was fucking horrible. And if you could just, and I don't know, but when hundreds of people go, yeah, he was fucking horrible, actually, you think, well, there must be something in it. So that was probably his downfall.
And I'd seen a documentary about him, and I think someone on the Talking Head had said he basically never changed. He never really changed the act.
Yeah.
So he's still doing the Jagger impression 20 years, maybe more.
Yeah.
Just needed to mix it. Meanwhile, you got George Carlin doing a different hour every year.
So if he kept up and he was doing Cardi B, and
well, look at Harry. Harry Hill's got that Ariana Grande. Is that a Cardi B rap?
Yeah.
Have Oh, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And then he's got that Stefflon Don bit, which is just for, talk about a guy who knows how to keep changing, evolving. I mean, to be fair, everything that we're talking about does take us nicely into this, Mark. What's your key to longevity? Because you are someone who, from the 80s, you've still got the world by the tail.
Well, God, I don't know. I don't know. Partly luck, I suppose. Partly ego, drive. I mean, I don't know. It is brilliant. I think. But partly, I think it's being aware of that. I think not being condescending and sneering, I think, is a huge part of it. You know, if you sort of think, oh, people these days, the comics these days, they're all rubbish. You know, if you think like that, I think you're gonna get in terrible trouble, aren't you? You've got to keep, and no one's going to keep coming because you did a really good gig, 25 years ago. No one cares about that. It's like I know, like everything is a sporting reference to me, but that is.
I'll say.
It's no good if you're sort of like, who should we say, Boris Becker. It's no good going, why don't they allow me to play at Wimbledon? I won 3 times. It's not fair. Yeah, mate, but you're 60, and B, you've sort of lost your cachet, what with being in jail. So you're not quite the draw that you were. Yeah, but I could still beat this bloody Alcaraz. Well, you couldn't, so you've got to be aware, I think, but still have the times have changed and stuff, but also but just really, really enjoy it. I loved that the other night at the Theatre Royal. It was 2 hours at this beautiful theatre, and thought, it was just great. It was just really, really great fun. But if you don't really work hard at it, people do know. Audiences do know whether you must know this, you have all the, amazing your club. You have just every good comic is there in the course of a year, aren't they? At least once. You must be able to see the ones that have put in the effort and the ones that haven't. And
this is it. This is what it all comes down to.
It's not gonna be any good. And I think it's just, I don't know. I just really, it's just something. It's just a really, really lovely thing. I don't want that to go away. I don't want to stop doing shows that people like. I don't want to just go, oh, I'll turn up and they'll come because they used to come, and they're just happy because I'm there. That's, how arrogant is that people think it's enough to just be there and not have put in a real lot of effort and tried a thing out and come to clubs like yours and thought, oh, hang on, that didn't really work. Why didn't that work? Maybe it's no good. Even little things like, I remember I did a routine when I did a show a few years ago about my absolutely bizarre adoption story. And I had one little line where I say that it was only after having a son of my own that it really occurred to me that my natural mother probably did think about me. She had to give me away at a week old. She probably did think about me quite a bit. You don't have a child and then just 20 years later go, didn't I have a baby? And at the time that I did this, I said it'd be like, and then she had to give me away straight away. So it's a bit like Andy Murray after all the effort he put in through all his life to win Wimbledon. When he'd finally won it, the trophy was just taken away from him after a week and given to a bloke in Swanley in Kent. And then I did a bit of like Murray going, oh God, I was done, Paul Quire, can you just try and let me keep it another week? And I did it as a sort of Murray voice, I don't know. And then Alistair McGowan, very brilliant impressionist, saw the show, and he just gave me a couple of tips about the Andy Murray bit, and I just spent an hour just trying to get the voice so much, and it got a much bigger laugh. And I thought, oh, imagine if you go through every bit of your act and you just go, could I act that a little bit better? I'm slightly reticent about doing this because you like it to make it as if you look like you just wandered on and just done it. But when you think, right, if you think, just every little impression I do, if I try I'm not an impressionist like Alistair or Rory or one of these people that fool, but just try and do it a bit better. Just think, how does that person speak? How does that? What if that line was just the other way round? Just try and just put those little bits of detail, like a play, like an actor would in a play, and all sorts of bits start going better then because of that.
That's because this is like sports science, isn't it? But David Brailsford was all about marginal gains.
Yeah.
I mean, that's that, isn't it? So if you went through each bit and tweaked, so their big thing was they realised that the cyclists would sleep better if they had their pillows from home, and then if they were, and then if they, so then if they slept that bit better, they were that bit quicker on the track, and so all these tiny little things. But what you're saying there, you're absolutely right. If you went through each, not just you, all of us went through each bit and just
didn't they redesign the helmets?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, the redesign the helmet, and then that was shaving a fraction of a second off. Yeah. That's fascinating. Yeah. I'll tell you, we've seen it with Stephen Merchant. He's done this. He's been working this show up at our place for the past maybe nearly 2 years, and then he was back the other night, and he'd clearly done what you said there, and we saw extra little tweaks and tags.
Yeah,
and it was already a great show, and it just elevates it that bit more, doesn't it? It's I mean, you've in terms of impressions, you've got advice there from the maestro, haven't you? Really?
Yeah. But anyone can do it a little bit better, can't they? Anyone can do it better than they were doing. I often think that with acting, when you sort of see
so good,
when you see sometimes a new comic and they'll do something, and there's a lack of confidence, I think, and they'll do a bit. They might say something like, and then I ended up hitting him, or something like that, and they sort of wave their arms a little bit. And I always say, no, you've hit him. That's not it. Almost like a director would get frustrated watching someone like that. You've got to go, fucking hit him. Mean in your face, look like you fucking hit him. You fucking hate this for that 1 second you're doing it. And
so now with you, Mark, you are one of the absolute greats when it comes to an act out. And you had a routine about 10 years ago, and it involved kicking a door down. Right. And when you do that act out, you turn into, I'm showing my age here, John Thor in The Sweeney would have been proud of the. But did that always come naturally to you? So in the 80s, were the act outs always there? Or is that something that you?
No, I don't know. I think maybe, I'm not sure. I think I really like doing the acting bit. I don't know, but yeah, I think if you're going to kick a door down, you've got to, I think, see there's just a little thing to say, isn't there? Which I can't remember that bit, but if in your mind see the door. I mean, I can't remember, did an actor tell me this, but see the door, and then once you see the door, I've got to kick this fucking door down. You're not going to kick it down by going, are you? So I just but I don't know. I don't really I'm not really one for getting overly technical. You hear sort of lots of comics doing that, and they get all technical. I was in Wales this year at the Comedy Festival in the middle of a tour, and it was lovely. It was absolutely lovely. One of these little comedy festivals they have, and they turn this small town into a place where there's gigs going on in all sorts of places. And I was at the theatre. It was great. And the next day, Palace were playing Liverpool in the last game of the season. It was 1-1, if you remember. I'm sure you do.
I do remember that game.
Up at Anfield.
Anfield, yeah.
So in the hotel where I was staying, they had it on in the telly. So I went into this corner, and there was probably about a dozen people sat there watching it, a couple of Liverpool fans, other people disinterested. And me and a couple of people have been at the show and stuff, but I went, oh, thanks, coming and all that. And then we were really talking about the match and life in general and watching this game. And this bloke's come in who's obviously done a few minutes at the sort of at one of the gala things or something. He's done 10 minutes. And one of the blokes watching the football went, oh, hello, mate. I saw you last night at the, that thing. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, it was interesting last night, actually, because I felt that, the front row, I had sort of, there was a couple of people there that weren't really looking. And I sort of thought, well, I've got to sort of win them over. But then there were some people came in later on, and I tried to sort of work those bits with a bit of the stuff that I was doing. And then, because that can happen sometimes, like I was doing a show in Brighton actually about a month ago, and a similar thing happened, and he went on and fucking on and fucking on, and I just wanted to go, mate, he was just being polite. Will you shut the fuck up? We're trying to watch the fucking football. I mean, no one gives a shit about your over obsessive fucking bollocks about what was probably 10 pedestrian minutes about fucking, I don't know, about the difference between fucking bananas and oranges. I just shut up. I just thought I was so embarrassed for my industry.
We're not all like this.
You did 10 minutes. It was probably all right. The bloke was being polite. Watch the game. We just won the FA Cup.
Yeah, well said. What was that 80s era? I mean, it's sort of mythical, isn't it now? But as someone who was there, what was that like? I mean, I suppose one of the big things, there just weren't as many people doing it.
No, very few. So when I started, there was the Comedy Store, which was lovely and exciting and seedy. And so, for example, this is one of the reasons it was so seedy. Nothing opened after 11 o'clock back then. If the pub stayed open till 12, you felt privileged. You felt like you were the king in a place that was allowed to stay open till 12. And instead of that, the Comedy Store went on till like 1:30 in the morning.
Sure.
Wow. It just felt, and it was a glorious place. And the Comedy Store at Leicester Square, which was the second place it was in. And people were sort of innovative and working out what to do. And but then apart from that, there was 2 or 3 gigs, or sort of maverick people would set up gigs, but they'd all be a bit bonkers, really. And there'd be all sorts of crazy, funny, like mad acts and people that had just come on and bark like a dog and then leave, or something like
Yeah.
things like that. And anyone could get on. It's not like now when there's a 6-month waiting list to do an open spot at a sort of place in Tewkesbury. The acts would just be gloriously bonkers. I used to compare a thing at Little Venice at the theatre there. It was on a Monday night, and I was no good myself. I was rubbish, but I was a sort of compare every week. And there was a bloke came on and he said, I'm Cyril, just announce me as Cyril. And then he just went over and there was a piano there and he just banged this piano. I said, I've got a piano. I'll have to leave for a minute. It was this sort of noise. That.
Yeah.
He did that. He did that for about 2 minutes. And then I walked on and I went and I was going, that's all we've got time for. Cyril, obviously he's presenting children's television, so he's got to rush off. And then he stood up and he stood up and squared up to me and stuff. And I thought, oh no, please let me not have a fight with this lunatic. And it was that. It was absolutely bonkers. There was a guy who used to come on and just melt a block of ice. He was called the Iceman, and he just had a block of ice, and he got this sort of like a Bunsen burner type thing.
He came back last year.
No,
he did a one-off anniversary performance, and I think it's now special. You can buy.
Well, that's the clip sorted. That is just amazing.
They were great. These people. They were sort of they were.
It's the Iceman, the final block. £10 on
Tim.
it's on Go Faster Stripe now. You can buy it.
Days of global warming. That's quite satirical, isn't it?
Yeah,
It is.
Tim, amazing.
That's brilliant. Oh God, all sorts of magnificent eccentrics, and then some of them were great. There was a guy, an actor, who was a really sweet guy, lovely bloke, called Phil, and he did an act called Randolph the Remarkable. And his act revolved around this is I'll say he's all he did, but I don't mean it in a disparaging way. He managed to make this last for 20 minutes. I must have been on the bill with him 30 times, and it always really went well. He was a large man, and then he would take his shirt off and he would declare that he was going to. He had a washing up bowl, right? And he put it on the stage, and he would declare that he was going to pick up the washing up bowl with his stomach.
There's no business like shit.
And then he would do this one line where he would finally bend down to sort of like to fill the washing up bowl with his stomach before picking it up. He would say, "Suction is the key, suction." And then he would bend down, and of course people would be tittering, and he'd stand up like an angry teacher, and he'd say, "Stop it. Maximum suction cannot be attained without total silence." But it was brilliant. The way he delivered it was brilliant. It was great. I loved him. Randolph the Remarkable.
Hang on, he's got to come back next year. No, I'm joking.
I'd love him to come back. He'd do great, I think. I would imagine he'd be great on Britain's Got Talent or something. He'd win it. He'd storm it.
Well, look, Mark, I think this does take us nicely. Now, I know it's not confirmed yet, and I know we're talking about it in the pre-chat, but we're bringing old school, our love of old school, with Mark Steele together. You're in talks about the Palladium.
Well, yeah, yes, I'm supposed to be doing the Palladium. I've got to decide whether to do it or not. It's all a bit. I mean, well, to be honest,
every listener right now is going, "Do it, do it."
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, as long as I can fill it up, that's the thing. But also, it gets expensive, and the tickets have to be quite expensive, which I don't like to. I don't know. But yeah, it'd be great to do it, wouldn't it?
Have you played there before in any capacity?
I did a benefit there. Yeah, I've done benefits there a couple of times. I mean, there is something brilliant about doing a big place when it goes well. I don't know if it's just ego. I mean, obviously it is. Really, comics want to do bigger places, doesn't it? Doing a show to 50 people is better than doing it to 10 people and so on and up. I don't know if that carries on. I don't know if it's a huge thrill, is it, to do the stadiums? Obviously, that's not something I'm ever like. I'm never likely to be doing my own show at sort of, I don't know, at some sort of sports field in Cape Town as part of a world tour like UB40, but it's a very old reference. Like Jay-Z, that's still quite old. Like,
so do you see that Simple Minds documentary?
Beyonce. Taylor
there you
Swift.
go, Beyonce. Fine.
Yeah.
Well, there's a comedian who is cancelled now, so I won't reference him directly. But he says doing those arena gigs, that's for the comedian, because for the audience, it's not a great experience, to be honest.
That's a good line.
Palladium's very different to the O2, for example. But like those arena gigs, you're just like, you're an ant 7 million miles away.
Yeah.
So somebody bought me tickets to an arena because they obviously don't know me that well, because give me the Tommy Field over the O2 any day of the week.
Yeah.
But they bought tickets to a gig at the O2. I won't say the person. No, I mean, it just does not work. You know, you can actually hear individual laughs.
Wow,
that's so fast. Yeah, and
they're like Tim's right. They're an ant on the stage, and then you're looking at the screen, and the screen's slightly out of sync with the act. You know, that's whoever. I mean, I won't ask who the person who said that is, but that's spot on.
I went to boxing. I'd never been to a boxing before. I went to see Usyk at Wembley.
Oh yeah,
and the sort of the spectacle of it, the sort of 3 hours before of all the mania and people being carried in on thrones and sort of lights and fireworks and the people who do that, the most amazing world heavyweight, all that business. That's all entertaining. The fight itself, you're honestly thinking, well, you're better off watching the telly. And it wasn't really until I got home and saw it, I realised quite what would happen. I knew Usyk had won in the 4th round, but that was all. I think it was a 4th round. But yeah, I think it's probably much the same. Whether he's bothered, I don't know.
So right, so for anyone, so the Palladium thing is watch this space, but you're thinking it's May 26th.
May 26th or 29th, I think. Maybe the 29th.
Of 2026. Of
2026, yeah. That's the idea. So yeah, it'd be lovely if everyone could come.
Well, we should, because we've seen it a few times in Tommy-Field, and it's such a brilliant show. It's just really incredible show.
I've been really. I know it sort of sound. I don't want to be sort of all like a sort of old-fashioned show busy type person, but it's a show about my 9 months or so between the time I was diagnosed with cancer and when I was told I no longer had cancer. So it's a show about that period, and it is really lovely, the people that come up afterwards and stuff in the theatres and the comments and the conversations we have. It's really very, very heartwarming. And I don't mean that in a sort of mawkish way. They don't put their hand on my arm and go, it just means so much to me to hear you. It's none of that. People come up and go, fucking hell, Mark, do you know what I mean? That took me right back to when I had radiotherapy. God, what a load of old bollocks that was. Still, we get through it, mate. Fucking great to see you. Good to see you having a laugh about it, mate. That's the main thing. It's that. It's that sort of thing.
Amazing.
I had a bloke come up to me who I hadn't seen for years in Chorley. I hadn't seen him for years. I used to know him when I was up there a lot more. And I'm doing this line in the show, actually. He says to me, since he said it to me, I went to meet him in the cafe. He wanted a pint. So we went to the pub. I only had a coffee because I was doing a show that night. And we were talking about sort of cancer, and he hadn't seen me since I'd been through all that. And he went, oh, you remember Jack? And I went, oh, yeah, I'm a bloke called Jack, used to know you. Yeah, he said, oh, yeah. I was talking to him, and his dad had been into hospital for prostate cancer, and he come back. Jack's dad come back, and I said, "How'd you get on?" And he said, "Oh, they had to put a camera up the arse." And I said, "Well, how'd you get on with that?" And he went, "Oh, I don't know what them gays see in it."
Oh my God.
When people go, you know, I'm sure if you do these interviews and people go, can you really make comedy out of doing cancer, out of having cancer? And I go, well, you can't stop it. I mean,
how can you not?
You can't, because people are funny.
Oh, God.
When I had my chemotherapy, there was a bloke. There was a bloke in a little short bloke, and he was there I don't know how often he'd been there, but I had 6 shots. Is that what you call it, of chemotherapy? And 8 shots for the price of 6 at the UCLH chemotherapy club. 2 for the price of 1 during happy hour. So it's funny, isn't it? I should have thought of that at the start of the tour. So this bloke he was in there every time I saw him, and he'd come in, and every day when I go in there, he'd be like, "All right, me old sunshine, how you doing? Blimey, another day in here, blimey. Anything to skive off for the day, ain't it, eh? We'll do anything to get out of work." When he's sat there with a drip and this chemo fucking dripping into his veins and that. I've got no hair to start with, mate. Chemo ain't going to bother me. All right, no point being miserable, mate. And I think like nearly everyone was sort of a version of that, or they would just sit there calmly. Some people would sit there doing jigsaws. It was very, very calm. People would and people would be funny. There was a bloke.
Hang on. What is that all about? Right, where that sort of thing. We're talking because this is a common thing where they're calm, but then if they're 2 minutes late to the movie at the Odeon, oh my God. It's like the little things people spin out, and then the big things. There's this serenity almost.
Yeah. And then you don't get as troubled afterwards. I don't get as flustered now. I get flustered like I used to.
Oh, really? You've seen a change?
Yeah, I get flustered, and then I consciously go, "I'll stop it," and then I'm all right. I got my car fixed the other day, and the most expensive bit was the wing mirror, and the bloke was good. He got us a cheap deal, and even that was 200 quid for a new wing mirror. Because
I'd say, was it 200 quid?
Yeah, someone had driven past and just
we had the same.
Yeah, plonked the bloody edge off some arsehole. So I got it all done. About less than a week afterwards, I go out and it's someone else has done it. Someone else has done it again, and so I've had to go back, and it made me miserable for about 20 minutes, and then I thought, oh. That's all right. All right, forget it. It's all right. It's just I consciously now think, there is an alternative scenario that from 2 years ago I wouldn't be here now. So 2 years ago I was diagnosed with cancer, and it was quite a big old cancer. It wasn't one of these like tiddly little cancers people get. So it was. I've got a mate who had throat cancer. He had six shots of radiotherapy, and it was difficult. And he was great, this guy, and he was sort of he taught me through lots of bits and stuff what to expect. Yeah, so he had, I think, 6 shots, maybe 10 shots of radiotherapy. It was serious, but it was 10, and I had 30 and an operation and chemotherapy, and it lasted about 3 times longer than his business. And I've got a joke now where I say to him, that cancer you had was more of a cold, really, wasn't it? And anyway, I can't remember where I was going.
Almost getting 4 Yorkshiremen about the cancer.
Yeah, exactly.
What I wouldn't have given for your
cancer
luxury.
When I had cancer of the pancreas, I still used to do 16 hours a day in the steelworks.
And say thank you.
Oh yeah! Instead of chemo, I got Morton steel in my drip. Yeah, exactly. So it was quite a big one. So there was a possibility there at that point. I wouldn't be here, or I'd be here now, but incurable and going backwards and forwards to bloody permanent things and on trials and God knows what. And I'd made a really good mate. Jules, a military man, who's a very, very fine soul. We still see each other a lot, and he is incurable, but he's all right at the moment. He's doing fine and could go on for a long, long time. And he saw me. We went out for a drink one night. He said, they've got me on these hormone trials at the moment. He said, they've reduced my testosterone levels to virtually nil. He said, I suppose the next phase is they'll be asking me to change my pronouns. Oh, that's a good joke. And he's a general. What a great joke for a general to say.
You're like, sorry, just say that again, but slower.
So I don't know. I think that it's almost that most people, I mean, I suppose it's self-selecting. You don't see the people who just collapse or who deny it or who go home and they're just overwhelmed by it. you don't see them, I suppose.
Yeah, you're fair. You're right. You're right. Yeah.
But I remember. I mean, we both play in the football on a Tuesday with the comics, and the sort of attitude people had there was just brilliant. And I remember one day when I was still sort of not certain whether it was cancer or not. It looked increasingly like it was, but I couldn't know for certain. And they'd lost my biopsy, the hospital, and there'd been a bit of incompetence and getting me bits and pieces mixed up and stuff, which in the early stages it happens. I mean, they were fantastic generally, and I was talking with Daniel Kitson and Ellis James, and Daniel, when he's, I suppose, the fact that they've been incompetent, is that a bit encouraging? And of course, what he meant was, does that mean that although they've said it's probably cancer, they've been incompetent, so it might not be? I'm sure that's what he meant.
Yeah.
And Ellis just went, "Oh yeah, of course it is. When you've got cancer, the more incompetent the people dealing with it are, the happier you are, aren't you?" Oh, excellent. They're fucking useless. They've dropped everything. And it was so funny. And Kitson pointed at me and went, "Right, I hope you've got a really fucking bad cancer." And then he turned to Ellis and went, "And I hope you catch it off him."
Very good.
Yeah, I mean, you really want that, don't you? You don't want people going, "We're all thinking of you."
Yeah, you want that.
Okay,
right. You're in my thoughts.
I lit a candle, and I've set off 100 balloons, and each one of the balloons I feel is carrying your spirit and my. Imagine if you fuck off.
My mom had not been well, and someone close to her said, if there's anything I can do, anything, I said a prayer for you at church on Sunday, and if you're in my thoughts, you just name it, if there's anything. And they both going to the same funeral, this older woman, and mum went, "Oh, can I have a lift to the funeral?" And this woman, click of her fingers, from going to, "I'll do anything, you name it, anything." "Oh, great, can I have a lift to the funeral then?" "I'm not driving across Leeds." Right. Thanks for the most hollow gesture ever.
That is less, that puts me out less than
not that.
Yeah, I mean, generally, I mean, if people, I mean, the praying thing, I really, but actually, the same mate, who I say, "Oh, that cancer was a cold," he said to me, when people say that they're offering you a daft cure, he said, "I think the best thing is to just accept it as coming from a really nice place." And I thought that's really good advice.
That's true.
So if someone says, "I'm praying for you," that's lovely. All right, pray for me. That's not going to do any harm, is it? It's not going to do any good, but it's not going to do any harm. And that's lovely. I'm not going to sniff at that. As we were talking before that we started, I find atheists can be a right bloody pain in the arse, really.
Oh yeah. Also, to the listener, sorry, before we started, we'd actually had a very pro-Christian chat. So when I said that, there's no shade on Christianity or anything.
No. Well, she wasn't being Christian, though, was she? She was doing the praying bit, and then didn't give your mum a lift to leave. Jesus, the boy had gone, "Fuck you, lady." What about not praying and then giving her a lift to leave? That's the fucking. If you read the New Testament, that's what that's about. So that's what Jesus would have said.
Yeah.
I think he was more angry than they paint him out to be in the New Testament. He's at the temple. He didn't just go, "I politely suggest
this is it."
From remaining, he said, "Get the fuck out."
Yeah.
And I think he'd have been cross with that.
He did your act out. He kicked that table over.
He kicked the fucking vestibule.
Kicking the table over. Well, look, before we get to the format bit, we must say, I mean, in town, BBC Sounds. I mean, that's the fandom you've got there is something special, isn't it?
Oh, it's really lovely, James. It's so sweet. People's sort of attitude to that program. I think, in a way, it's a bit like, you know, sort of the debates you get about comedy that are very. I think most comics find it very tiresome. You know, are you allowed to say that? And then should you punch up or punch down and all this? I don't know. I mean, what on earth does any of that mean? But I do think that. So I go to a town and I find out as much as I can about it. I have to get to really like it, I think. And so I went up to Shetland this summer for about a week and a half, and we did 2 shows up there. One in Lerwick, which is the capital, and one in Unst, which is Shetland's huge. It takes about 3 hours to get from the bottom to the top. And it involves a couple of boats as well as quite a lot of driving. And at the top island, there's 600 people live on this island. It's about the size of the Isle of Wight. And it's absolutely desolate, magnificently desolate. And I just really got into the rhythm of it. So I noticed after about 3 days, really strange thing happens in Lerwick, the capital. It's only 7,000 or 8,000 people. That 2 or 3 times a week, a cruise ship arrives. And some of these cruise ships have, including the cruise, 6,000 or 7,000 people. And they all get off for 3 hours and they walk around the town and they go to the tourist bits. And I started feeling like a local because I did start the show with this. I said, I've started feeling like you because that ship arrives and the population doubles. And suddenly I try to get a coffee and I'm told there's no room and there's no signal on the phone because they've all used it up. And you can't walk down the street because there's literally only a little tiny thin high street and there's literally Americans everywhere saying things like, are you a Viking? And after about 10 minutes of this, I'm feeling like a Shetlander because all I'm thinking is, buy your expensive jumper and fuck off. And I did this at the start of the show and it got a big cheer because you take a gamble. You don't know if they do think that, but they did. And so I thought, I think that's what you have to do. You have to get into a rhythm of the way they think. And in the bit at the top, the second show in this little hall, I loved that. It's so desolate. There's hardly anyone there at all. And there's I'll just tell you this, there's a lake that you pass and there's a statue of a very, very pale white statue. And the statue is of the white woman of the lake. And 100 years or so ago, it is said that she lost her son in the lake and her ghost is seen constantly looking for the son. And, you know, I'd say the odds of her finding him now are probably not good. So the statue's there. And it is said, according to the sort of board that is next to the statue, that the ghost of this lady always gets in to the passenger seat of any red car that comes past. So, and there's been all these sightings of the ghost of this lady in a red car. And so my producer and I were sort of staying in this little house. There's no hotels there. So just staying in this house, this woman had put us up. And we mentioned about the white woman of the lake and the ghost getting in the red car. And she went, oh, it's rubbish. That's rubbish. That's rubbish. People talk rubbish, don't they? It's rubbish. So I thought, yeah, that's good that they don't believe this. And she went, it's any coloured car. Doesn't have to be red.
Oh, God.
She was so sweet. And I did tell that story, and she was sat in the front row. But notice you've got a line out of me.
You fucking bastard.
She was lovely.
That's great.
And everywhere I go with this show, you go there, you say, now people quite a few people know, have you come to take the piss out of us? And they want you to be as ruthless as possible. But it only works.
It's any coloured car.
Yeah. They're just lovely. They're, you know, everywhere you go, there's people who are so enthusiastic about their place, about the traditions there and everything. And it's And they know, that's the thing, they know in your eyes that you like them. I think that's what the arguments about, can you say this or you can say anything. It's whether you mean it or not. It's whether you mean it with
What's the intent?
Or cheer it. You know, you can say horrible things to your mates, can't you? Like, you know, like kids and saying to me, I get cancer, a really bad cancer. I don't go, I find this offensive and start going on the internet going, because it was clearly meant in the opposite way.
Norm MacDonald once said that he always felt that in order to do an impression of someone, you have to love the person you're impersonating.
All right.
And I think there's a bit of that in what you're saying within town.
Yeah.
So you're taking the piss, but it's done with such warmth and love and affection. The fact that you became one of the Shetlanders for a bit, and you, like you say, you were thinking like them. So as you were describing that, I was reminded of, you know.
Yeah. I think to do it. I think anything where you do. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Why would you get angry about these people? They're like, you can't. I think if I went to a place and it was horrible, I don't think I'd be able to do the show. But it never happens. You know, wherever you go, there's people who are just really, really funny and they're excited about the place, and they know.
And you love people. You know, I think the three of us, we all love people. We look, you know, always be comedy. We always hello and thanks for coming, all of that. And you know, I've seen the way you are with people, Mark. Exact same.
I've got to say this, James. So this is sort of, you know, I often think this about the way the world is divided up. Because there are obviously millions and millions of people who don't really have a sense of humour. They all think they have. The BBC this year started putting clips up on Instagram of my show. They've not done that before. And they put one up from Wrexham. I really wanted to do Wrexham because Wrexham's obviously a big story because their football club was bought out by a couple of Hollywood stars. And that has then begun to literally, I know this because I spent quite a bit of time there, transform the town, not just the club. The brewery's reopened. The documentary they made has gone around the world. People across Australia, Scandinavia, Swedes came while we were there. The Swedes came while they were in the town. They went to look around the local church. The pubs have started being rejuvenated. There's all sorts of little shops and cafes starting up. This isn't just a sort of fringe thing. It's really made a difference, and it's fascinating. Anyway, I do the show in Wrexham, and one of the joke that the BBC put up on Instagram was about because it's in Wales, everything has to be in the two languages. So the road signs say Wrexham, spelt as we know it with an X, and then Wrexham, Wrecsam. So I did this little bit about, why do you bother putting it up twice? They both say Wrexham. Whatever way you look at it, it says Wrexham. What a waste of signage that is.
Yeah.
And it's because Welsh doesn't have an X in the Welsh language. And now some people might, and then the joke went, now some people might suggest that you ought to put an X in the language, and that might save you all sorts of trouble. But then you get people going, never, we shall fight with the spirit of Owen Glandor, and over the centuries you have robbed us of our land and our agriculture, and now you want to put an X in our language. Never, I say, we shall fight defiant. So it's all that, right? And then at the end of it, I mean, what a Christmas cracker joke this is. At the end of it, I say, but it does explain why the Welsh Philharmonic Orchestra doesn't have a xylophone in it. And then there was a couple of other bits later about Plaid Cymru would do so much better, but it's not possible to put an X in the box when you get an election.
Oh, come on.
Right. Stuff like that. So they put this bit up on Instagram. And I had a look a little bit later, and it's got something like 500,000 views. So I thought, oh, that's good. And then I noticed the reason for this is there's this massive argument in which hundreds of people have gone, how dare you insult the Welsh language, you fucking English arsehole, you colonialist twat. Why don't you change your language? Why do you think you're superior just because you've got an X, you fucking wanker? On and on and on it goes. And occasionally someone goes, I think, to be fair to Mark, it was just a joke, really. And then, of course, there's about 50 more after. It's racist. If this was about any other language, I'm not paraphrasing, this is literally what it says. If this was about any other language, you'd be banned and cancelled. But somehow, because it's the Welsh, you fucking imperialist running dog of.
I mean, just amazing.
I don't know. It just makes me laugh that there are some people who just
live for it.
And they take everything literally. I always say that at Christmas, someone must read a joke and go, what's red and sits in the corner? A naughty strawberry. Well, that's stupid. A strawberry has no sense of its own naughtiness. It has no shame.
I'm going to email in.
Yeah.
Right, Mark, you're curating your dream comedy gig. Do you have any pre-gig rituals?
Pre-gig rituals? I didn't think that I did, but I think I probably do. A bit like, again, that people, I don't know, golfers or whatever, probably don't think they have, and yet they'll always do something or other that they're not aware that they do.
Yeah, the glove has to be in the back pocket or whatever.
Yeah. I just, you know what? Now you come to mention it, yes. Before I tee off at the first, I always put a hedgehog in a polythene Tesco's bag, bring it around my head. I'd never realised I'd do it. I did notice, because I always like the sort of process of ironing me shirt. I have to do a few little voice things now, because since the operation stuff, the voice sometimes struggles if I'm doing a lot of shows in a row. So I have to all those things that I used to hear actors do and think, oh, for goodness sake, what is the matter with them? And now I think, oh, there is a reason why they do that. And there's little sort of voice things I have to do. And the steam as well is really good. If you get a bowl of steam and put a towel over your head and put your head in it. And 20 years ago, I'd have seen someone doing that. I think, oh, blimey, what's the matter with you? But now I have to do that. But ironing my shirt, I really like doing that. And then once this lovely woman at this theatre started doing it for me, and I found myself going, no, don't do that, like a really panicky sort of. And I thought, oh no, this is a ritual, isn't it? I've become like a hedgehog round the head man. I'd like to have a little bit of time to have a think, especially about how I'm starting. Because every night I start with something different depending on where I am. I think it's sort of, you want to be in the room, don't you? Don't just go out and start. So
in the room,
go out and do something about wherever you are, Wellingborough or Sunderland or whatever. So I do have a little bit of a thinker like that. And then I do sort of like to have a few minutes to think about that, really. But yeah, all that, not the wanky stuff,
Yeah.
But that's what some people do. But some people just go straight on, don't they? I think Jason Manford does that. He was telling me that. He can actually be chatting and then just in the middle of a conversation, someone will go, you're on, and he'll just walk on.
Wow.
5,000 people. I couldn't do that.
Harry Hill told that story about Sean Locke. Harry had asked, early days, Harry had asked Sean, why was he a bit up and down? And Sean had a word and said, I think you basically need to focus a bit more before you go on. I think Harry had been, I suppose we're all different. Harry might have been like chatting and then going on. Whereas I think Sean felt, if it works for Jason, I suppose we're all different. But I think that proved helpful for Harry. So I've gigged with Harry a heck of a lot, as these warm-up guy and so on. And he definitely gets himself in the zone, does Harry?
Yeah.
He'll do a little walk, he'll do this, shoulders up and down, almost like a boxer. And then he's limbering up, but he definitely gets himself in the.
Yeah, no, I'm that. I wouldn't want it to be filmed and people to see. I think I'd feel a right wanker, but I am really sort of like. I know sometimes you'll get someone from the theatre, one of the techies or something, and they're just being nice, but they'll go, so if you have to travel up here far today, and I'm sort of aware they're saying it, but I'm not. It's somewhere else, and then. It might be the next day. I think, oh yeah, wasn't that bloke talking to me like a minute before I was going on? And I think, oh, he's probably going around now going, he's a right wanker in real life, right snotty little fucker, don't even talk to you.
I think that I'd like to think they'd know that you're getting in the because on a warm up, I might have one of the audience guys, and they're the loveliest people. But on a warm up, if I'm trying to get into the headspace, one of them might come over for a chat. Oh, that was a good record of Bake Off the other day, wasn't it? But I'm the same.
Mm.
You know, it's not, you know, the listener might, you know, you might not think it's the same as a tour show, but to me, you know, that's my.
Yeah, absolutely.
So even there, I've got to be like, no, I'm.
I wonder if there's like these people who defuse unexploded bombs. I wonder if that happens to them just as they're sort of going, just unthreading this little green. Mate, didn't I? Have I seen you? I saw you. I saw you in the co-op the other day, didn't you, mate? You were buying some fish. What now, mate? Hey, what's the matter with you then?
Oh, you've changed. Yeah, you pulled off that amazing job at Waterloo last week. You think you're a fucking celebrity now, don't you? No, mate. Any time but now. Please. Who would MC this gig?
I've just got to say, I've got to thank you guys because when I was coming out of my treatment, which was pretty brutal, quite a bit of it, and I was coughing. And even when I sort of started to feel a little bit better from the effects of the radiotherapy, for one reason or another, your mucus I was coughing so unbelievably violently and constantly, and coughing up huge balls of mucus. And even as I started to recover a bit, I was still having to spit about every 30 seconds into a salad bowl. So I couldn't really go out very much because, convention being what it is, spitting into a salad bowl every 30 seconds is frowned upon in polite society. I found that I tried to get into the pavilion at Lord's, and so they were going to have to ask you to leave. So at least spit into a 19th century Wedgwood porcelain jug. So and then I just had a day and a half, 2 days where I hadn't needed to spit, and I thought, could I possibly maybe do 20 minutes? And I called you expecting, hoping that you'd go, oh yeah, there's a slot in 6 weeks. And you went, come down next week if you want. And it was a bit like when you first start and someone goes, yeah, come and do 5 minutes. And it was like, oh my God. So that was the sort of the beginnings of the show that, I'm hoping they're going to end up at the Palladium, was very much down to you. So I'm very grateful to that, because that was, and I remember coming up there and just standing there and telling some stories really from the hospital for half an hour, and a few of them stories are, well, I mean, people go, oh, it writes itself, and you think, no, it doesn't, but some of that stuff does write itself. I mean, some of those things, but I didn't know that until I did it at that night at your club. So
I remember that night very clearly. Stephen Browett came down.
Mm-hmm. He did, yeah. But it was brilliant. I still had a sort of tube in my stomach because I still couldn't eat or drink at that point. And so I was having to feed myself with a sort of syringe into this stuff. So I was still doing that at that point. But I was feeling sort of all right, well enough to do that anyway. So that was, oh God, I felt absolutely delirious to be back. I couldn't hear either. My hearing's got better. It's still not quite right, but the hearing went absolutely all over the place during that time. So anyway, yeah, thanks very much for that. Anyway, what am I doing? Curating a gig.
Well, look, we're very grateful. It's always great to see you. But I think that hearing thing, I think you almost needed reassuring that you'd roofed the gig. I think the hearing wasn't quite.
No, I couldn't really.
So you were
quite a couple of bigger, sort of bigger places that were a bit cavernous. A little bit after that, and where you couldn't see the audience, and a bit like when the mobile phone signal goes.
Yeah.
Everything was sounding like that, and I literally couldn't tell if people are laughing or not because I couldn't see them. And it was, I thought, God, is it going to be like this forever? But about after 2 or 3 months, that sort of came back a bit, yeah.
Well, who would? So you create a green gig, yes. So who would you pick as a MC? Dead or alive, you name it, can be anyone.
I think just as MC, I'm just thinking as the top of my head. I think the person who I always love watching do this is Al Murray. I think he's just
Jesus
brilliant
Christ.
at it. And there's just the right sort of combination of firmness but I think very affectionate. People wouldn't. I'm probably a lot of people wouldn't think that the word affectionate is the first one you think of with Al, but I think he's very affectionate, and I think it's. I think he's brilliant at it, and I just like, and he really does think that quickly. He probably has got a bank of 1 million things to say with whatever people say back to him, but
It's like a magic trick.
yeah,
He
and
does crowd work all along the front row and then all along the second row. So he goes left to right and then onto the second row, right to left. And he's doing callbacks.
yeah.
You know, someone in seat A7 is then there's a callback then to someone who's in B11 or whatever.
You want to meet up with him, mate. So it can't be. It's like chess. There's so many combinations. He can't have done it all before.
Incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
Some of the sort of, I know, I'm sure some of them are ones he has done before, but the first time I saw him go, "What do you do, mate?" "I'm a landscape gardener. Everything's a garden." Sorry, let me do that properly. This is why I don't do this. I fucked it. "What do you do, mate?" "I'm a landscape gardener. Everything's a landscape. You're just a fucking gardener."
The thing is, even if he said it before, who cares? You know what I mean? He's just a generational talent. I'm in awe of Al Murray. Who would open then?
Well, my old friend who is no longer with us, Linda Smith, I thought was so fun. I think there was such a warmth to Linda. She was someone who was a very good stand-up, but she was one of the funniest people I've ever known just in conversation. And I was really pleased that as time went on, she got on lots of chat shows and things like that, because she was brilliant at just talk. She just sounded like she was like a mum from the local school, and she would just fire out these lines. And I was the one I often say is like, she was very ill at the time. We were watching the European Championship final football that the Greeks won.
Oh yeah.
And as the Greek captain lifted the trophy up, Linda went, "We'll have that in the British Museum by Wednesday."
Oh. Instant perfect joke.
It's instant perfect joke. And I think there was just such a, she was so liked. I think she'd be great to open it.
Was she one of that? I mean, I never knew Linda, never gigged or anything like that. Was she one of those people who had that ability to be? She was Linda Smith in the green room, and then basically took that onto stage.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, sometimes she wasn't as funny doing the scripted stuff as she was just talking to her. She was and she would have these. She just really liked people and found them funny. She told me once. So it was never sneering. She was, even whatever story she told, it was always like, "I find these funny and I like these people." She told me about, she was sat at a cafe she lived in Newham for a while. She said she was sat at this cafe, and the next table there were these two young mums, and each of them had a child of about 2 in a pushchair. And she said one of them was talking, and then she just said, "Oh, hang on a minute," and then turned to a child in the pushchair and went, "Sit up, you cunt."
Oh my god! Oh boy! So Linda might have been, a lot of comedians do. I mean, Jack D used to do, didn't he, back in the day? But they do shows that are based around people submitting questions and
yeah.
Linda would have been, that would have.
Yes, I think in modern times, I think she'd have been. Yeah, I think if she'd lived, she'd have probably done all sorts of things like that, I guess. So I think given the sort of way comedy, lots of comedy clubs have gone down this route of, I mean, I sometimes drives me nuts, to be honest. Sometimes you get all the clips on Instagram and everyone's doing it. I first saw it when I went to America in about 1990, and I remember uh, while I was over there, I thought two things I've seen here that I don't care for, that I'm sure are going to come to Britain. It was the first time I'd ever rung anyone and then got the message that went, if you would like to something, press one. And the first time that ever happened, I thought,
Yeah.
what? And then
Yeah.
I thought, oh, that's going to be everything, isn't it? And that's going to come here. And within a year, of course, it was here. And the other thing was comedy clubs. Every single comic coming out. Hey, well, let's have a round of applause for the compere. Doing a great job. How about that? Great stuff. Hey, now who have we got here? You two. Hey, what are your names? Are you here on a date? Is this your first date? Are you a couple? How about that? Where are you from? Oh, I know that project. How about that? Great. And I'd sort of think, all right, they're going to work up to a joke. And then they just go, and you over there. What? And I'm thinking, you can't just go from there. You can't just come on and ask how they are, and then that's it.
So when was this, Mark?
This was 1990 time. I was really young comic, and I went
Jesus.
to America and I did a couple of clubs, and then I did one place, what a big place, and I remember in Chicago. And I remember it sort of threw them because I didn't go, let's have a round of applause for the company. They're doing a great job. And it was so much part of the protocol that I think the audience was thinking, who's this bloke? He can't be a comic. Maybe he's the cleaner. I don't know.
Yeah.
Quite, it was quite odd. And I remember doing a little bit when I came back. How did it go? I'd say I went to America and did this stuff, and they'd every single one of them go, "Hey, how you all doing here? How about that? How are you, sir?" And that wouldn't work in English because you go, "How you doing?" And people go, "I've had a bit of a bad back." Once you get to 35, every day's a bonus. But now they still say that it does happen here, and great if you can do it. If you do it like Al or Stephen Grant in Brighton, who's great at it, and or Daniel Kitson, who's brilliant at talking to them. I mean, just brilliant. But have some idea. You can't just go, "How are you? You on a date? Is it your first date?" I was in France in the summer, and I went to a couple of comedy clubs, and there was a bloke. This one was in English, and I did a couple of French ones and a couple of English ones in this. I don't know why I did it, but it was this guy goes, "Where are you from?" There's only a little clone of basement, and the woman went, "I'm from Ecuador," and he went, "Mm, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to say about that," and then moved on to the next.
Fucking hell.
Ecuador, you
Come on,
can't
mate.
be from Ecuador like it's her fault. That's surely, if you're going to do where are you from? If someone goes Ecuador, that's
like
you do something with that, haven't you?
if Kamada puts it on a plate for Mateta and he's 8 yards out, Mateta's not picking up the ball and give back to the keeper. Well, what do you expect me to do with that?
I might do that actually, but fantastic. Give me the ball and I can give it to the keeper. This is what I am in today.
Who goes on in the middle?
Now this I'm not sure. Who makes me cry laughing? I'm trying to think of people who have made me cry laughing. I think if I'm just thinking of the two comics who have made me cry laughing so much that you're almost begging them to stop. I'm not sure what way round I do this. I guess Richard Pryor in the middle. It seems ridiculous, doesn't it? But I think Richard Pryor. I first saw him. There was about 1981. I was a young sprig of a thing, and someone I knew said there's an all-night black film showing at the Ritzy Cinema in Brixton. which was a sort of anarchists run by these anarchists. It's still there, but it's now sort of, it's very nice, but it's now, it's 4 or 5 screens and there's a smart little bar and all that. But at the time, it was a chaotic, huge screen, one screen, run by these sort of like quite crazy anarchists. Once I remember going in with a mate and seeing it, and this film suddenly ceased to make any sense. And then we realised they'd showed the reels the wrong way round.
Oh my God.
We went and said, "You've shown the reels the wrong way round." And this sort of bloke, the anarchist bloke, it used to be absolutely awash with dope smoke. You could hardly see the screen. And the bloke come in and went, and just sort of turned the lights come on, and he went and went, "Yeah, we've shown it the wrong way round. If you want to get your money back, whatever." And it was that sort of place. And they had an all-night black film, and it was packed, and it was like black films, and it was all night in the 1980s. I mean, God, if things went on till, like I was saying about the comedy stuff, things went on till 1 in the morning. You thought, what is this? A place that's open till 1? But this went on all night. And I don't know, about 2 in the morning, something like that. It's Richard Pryor live, and he comes on, and lots of the famous stuff, the animals, the Italian mafia people, the Chinese waiter with a stutter that would probably be getting cancelled on several different fronts now, but and loads of political, racial stuff and everything. And I didn't even know if I'd seen a stand-up comic at the end of it. I didn't know what it was, because it wasn't stand-up as I knew it, which was blokes telling jokes. But I was in pain from laughing. It changed, my whole outlook on these things. It was so, but brilliant, and all the things when people go, "Oh, the best comics," brilliant, because it was socially brilliant and all of these things. It was all of that, but it was funny to the point that I remember just crying with laughter and literally thinking, please stop, because this is hurting now. And there aren't many comics who make you do that, I don't think.
Perfect pick. Who closes this juggernaut then?
Well, I think the other comic that's made me cry laughing is Connolly. I'm not being very original here, am I?
Yeah, but I mean, these guys are regarded as greats for a reason, aren't they?
Yeah, I think no one else does really what he does. He will go 10 minutes without a laugh telling a story, but you're absolutely with it. And I think, God, I couldn't do. I suppose it's because he came from folk clubs and stuff. And that would have been the tradition there, and he would have built it up from there. But he'll set up this story for 10 minutes, and then he'll do 3 minutes that is so funny that you're in pain laughing. And then it'll all calm down, and it will start again. And but when he gets you, he really, really gets you, doesn't he?
I mean, sorry, go on.
I saw him do this one thing. It's just a simple thing, but he was doing a thing about being in some castle in Scotland and walking about it. And there was at the cafe there, and there was a recipe book. And in the recipe book, he was flicking through it, and each page had a recipe written by someone. And then in brackets, it would have something about the recipe. So it would be a recipe for some sort of soup, and it went, just right for when you come in from a long walk on a cold winter's day or something like that. And he said there was one page, and it had venison a la something was the recipe. And in brackets, it said, ideal for all that unwanted leftover venison. And then he went into this big thing. I was crying, laughing about it. And then it ended with him going, I was brought up on the 12th floor of a council block, and I'm just picturing my mum going, will someone come up with a recipe for the unwanted leftover venison? The antlers are sticking out the fucking fridge. and I just lost it. It was an hour later. I was still recovered. It was just the picture. He's so brilliant at it, and I don't know. This gig's probably going to go on for 5 or 6 hours because I think
Worth every moment.
He's doing a couple of hours each, aren't they?
Well, right, great picks. Now, has there been an incident that you would somehow love to replicate at this gig?
Okay, this would involve someone else being on. I was about 26, and there was see, this is the thing, right? So, sort of digress here, but there is a sort of very lazy narrative about the comedy scene in the 1980s that was all like uber political and Thatcher and all that sort of thing. It really wasn't like that. It would be Randolph Remarkable with his belly picking up the washing up bowl with maximum suction. It would be there'd be one comic on out of a bill of four. There'd be a singer, a juggler, there are all sorts of things. And I did this gig in the University of Essex in Colchester. There was 3 of us on. I can't remember who the other person was, but we were introducing each other. And before me, there was an escapologist. And it was this Geordie lad. I remember he was Geordie lad, like, and he was saying, right, what I'm going to do, like, my finishing little trick is I get a suck, and I get someone from the audience, like, and they tee me in the suck, and then they stand on the stage, and after I just sort of make me way out of the suck, and I'll get out of there, and then I'll introduce you, like, you know. I said, all right. So when I'm doing the suck, then if you can, like, get ready and because you'll know that. Yeah, right. So he's done this. He's getting in the sack, and a bloke from the audience is tying him, and I've sort of gone and stood behind the curtain, ready to go on. And then I thought, fucking, he's taking his time. And then then I heard this noise, a muffled noise, go, I'm stuck. I'm whispering, what? I don't want to come through the curtain. I'm going, what? No, I said, are you joking? No, I'm not joking, man. I'm fucking stuck. Can I get out? And eventually I had to go on, and I had to untie him in front of him.
Oh my god! How sheepish is he climbing out of there then?
Yeah, pretty. And then well, marvelous, wasn't he? Having to go, was he marvelous? Now and then going to my bed.
God, perfect, amazing. Now,
if there's a sort of version of like 24-hour party people was about the punk Tony Wilson days and stuff,
you could do a movie of that.
I think you would have loads of stuff like that in it, really, if it was honest, because it's just not true that it was loads of people screaming politically. It just isn't. You're much more likely to see an escapologist. It wasn't necessarily political. We know how hard it is for an industry to escape from Margaret Thatcher's predilection for shutting down steelworks and mines, but now I am going to. No, it wasn't that.
Yeah.
It was people just come on and juggled things and ate an apple while they were juggling, that sort of thing.
It's nice to hear that, because I think sometimes you think, oh, it was just Alexi Sales screaming about, but that's nice that the picture you paint there, No, by the way, no shade on Alexi, obviously,
he was sort of political at one stage removed. I mean, Hello John Got a New Motor was single. It wasn't. You'd be hard pressed to say that was a sort of Marxist diatribe. It was just a very funny sort of piss take of like
that kind of guy.
Blokes from sort of London, wasn't it? Yeah.
Now, has there been an incident that must not happen at this gig?
I think the things that mustn't happen are things that also must happen. It's a thin line, isn't it? I know there's the famous story of a comic. There was a comic who was on at a club, and Oh, right, see if I can get this right. There was a comic that was on at a club, and there was a black woman heckled him. The comic was white. Later in the gig, he then turned to a different black woman and had a go and said, "You again," you know, who had me earlier. And she, of course, was like furious. Oh, right, we all look the same. So it all was very, very icky. And then the next comic come on, it was also a white comic, and did all right. And in the interval, the first black woman who'd heckled the first white comic, who was very, very angry about what had happened, went up and punched the second white bloke for being racist. It was the first.
Oh, that is. Mwah.
I was scared when you were telling it, but it's all worth it in the end.
It's a love, yeah. That was like a dive off the high board, and then 10 out of 10. Amazing.
If that had been that had been punched, I would have gone, "That's worth it."
Yeah.
I'd be proud.
Well, I'm happy to be a part of this story. You've broken my jaw, but I love it. Well, final question then. How do you unwind? I mean, thank you, by the way. This, as I say, Hall of Fame stuff. This. Final question. How do you unwind after a gig?
I think you want to live in it a little bit if it's gone really well. I think you do. I think it's nice to hang over because when you do the theatre, James, it's not. When you not. I don't know, when you're doing sort of like TV things, does it happen? That's what it does a bit. Because the sad thing is you can like 500 people or more in a theatre, and then you go backstage, have a sort of wash and get changed, and 5 minutes later, after the thing's ended, I'm just in a car.
Yeah.
And you sort of leave, and you say to the techies, "Ta-ra," and they're undoing something, and they'll go, "Hey, yeah, see you, mate." And then and it's really sad. So I think a few times I've like, because I was in Brighton a couple of nights ago, a few people came along with me to a sort of pub for half an hour afterwards. And it was like decompress, like this, like these soldiers who go to Cyprus after a tour of Afghanistan and they decompress for a week. You want a little bit of that. So I think really, I think there should be, I think the military should use their people to sort of set up little decompression camps for a little 10 minutes where you come off and you sit there and have a little bit of a before just leaving.
You know what? I'm going to take something from that because I agree. We should live in it more, and we don't, do we?
You just come home.
I'm on the train back to Penge, and I'm
Yeah.
listening to a podcast or looking out the window or whatever. Whereas really, you're right. They should
gone,
treasure those memories.
And it's gone, and all that's gone, and there was all that sort of like brilliant. And of course, it's partly ego because you're sort of thinking, "Oh, they all like me," but it's not just that. It's like, "Oh, this was exciting," and now, and I sort of imagine that's. I would imagine that. I don't know. I'd guess that after Carlos Alcaraz has won the US Open, a couple of hours later, when he's done all his media interviews, he's probably back in a hotel room or something, and it was probably a bit deflating. I should imagine, Abraham Lincoln, after the Gettysburg Address, probably got in a horse and carriage and probably sat there with Mrs. Lincoln going, "Did you remember to get the sausages?" Oh.
Yeah.
Actually, Barry Cryer told me this story of Harry Seacombe. The first night he did London Night at the Palladium, Saturday night at the Palladium, which was, or Sunday, I think. It was a massive thing, like 18 million or something people watched, a massive thing to do. And Harry Seacombe did it. And he said that he got home after doing like this massive thing, the telly. And as he come in, and the first thing his wife said to him was, "Harry, I've been doing the washing, the state of your pants."
Well, welcome back to planet Earth. Well, you know what? The three of us must endeavour to live in it a bit more afterwards, then, eh?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think
You know
it's
what, Mark? The FA Cup final.
yeah.
I live in that I think every day of my life. I messaged Stephen Browett just the other day. I've got one of these, these Google Home hubs, and it shows pictures from memories. And the FA Cup final comes up all the time. I mean, I probably need to. You know what? There'll be players who played in the final who won a medal who don't live in the final as much as I do. 100%.
There might be. I mean, I uh, there are some things that happen, and as they're happening, you're aware that however long you live, this is going to be a massive moment in your life, and that is
100%.
absolutely at the pinnacle of one of those.
I said
And
to Tim the other night, I think about it that much that there's a part of me that genuinely, I think I played 10 minutes at the end.
yeah, you did actually.
I think I've said it to you. I think I've said it to you as well, Mark. Yeah, I think I came on for Kamada. I think,
Well, it was extraordinary, wasn't it? And again in that last 10 minutes. So for people who don't know, there's no reason why if you're not a Palace fan you would recall this in the same way. So there was 10 minutes injury time. If you support a team like Crystal Palace, you don't ever expect to win an FA Cup or anything of that nature.
10 minutes of injury time until you win the FA Cup.
Yes, against Manchester City, who are the richest club that has ever existed in the history of British football, with an array of ridiculously extraordinary stars, including possibly the best striker of modern football who's played in Britain. And we're 1-0 up. And not only that, but we saved a penalty. And 10 minutes. I think I always knew it was going to be 10 minutes because there'd been two big injuries. So when it was like 85 minutes, I thought there's still 15 minutes to go here. So I wasn't sort of surprised when it said 10 minutes. But I did then think, well, the most likely scenario is that they score and equalise. That is, and that for the rest of our lives we'll be going, oh, we were only 6 minutes or 8 minutes or however many minutes it is away. And I said to the bloke next to me, I don't know who it was, I said, when 7 minutes of this 10 has gone, I'll start to believe we might win. And he went, I'm going to make it 8. I remember he said that. And of course, then it got to 7. I still thought, okay, there's a story here that goes forevermore, and we were 1 minute away. And when that whistle went, it was astonishing. I think it was one of the most moving. If you're completely oblivious to sport, I thought it was one of the most beautiful human moments. All around where we were, there was lots of people talking very calmly to each other. And it wasn't how you would imagine a euphoric moment like that, where you would think everyone would just be going off absolutely berserk and throwing beer and everywhere and all that. It was the opposite. People were just very, very calmly going round to each other in a sort of euphoric daze and talking about family members, I think.
There's a lovely picture of... Start crying again. There's a lovely picture of you, me, and my girls on after the full-time whistle, and my girls are smiling, pure happiness, and you and I definitely have, shall we say, something in our eye. I love that video. Someone shared a video, and they've done like this pan of the Palace fans, and every Palace fan, to a single human, is crying and hugging, and it was really treasured stuff.
Something Elliot said to me. Now, he's not going to thank me for broadcasting this. At the full-time whistle, Elliot grabbed me really tight and he went, Dad, a little while ago I thought we were going to lose you. Instead of that, we've won the FA Cup.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
I mean, what a sweet thing to share, but more importantly, you've just damaged his cred. I love it.
You know what I thought was lovely as well? I don't know if you found this. Obviously, I become aware the 2 or 3 days before it that we were carrying the hopes of fans everywhere. You know, fans from just about every club sending messages. You know, you've got to beat Manchester City. What I was really surprised at afterwards was I got quite a few messages from Manchester City fans saying, "Congratulations, you deserved it."
The City fans helped make the day so special. We travelled back with City fans on the train. If I ever meet those guys, I'd shake them all by the hand. 5 blokes in their maybe early 60s. They were like 5 Craig Cashes, and they were so warm and funny and chatting with my girl. They were talking to my girls like they were like their mates. So they were saying things like, "There's no way your dad's making you go to school on Monday. You've got to treasure these girls. There's no way you're going to school on Monday." And then they're going through all the country. "Oh, when you go to Europe, you've got to do Germany." And then there's someone else goes, "Oh, you've got to do Germany. Oh, Germany. Oh, the government run the tickets, so you and all this." And then that was it. They go, "You don't go to Spain. Don't." And one of my girls goes, "Why don't you go to Spain? Because the police are truncheon. They're truncheon happy." And then one of the girls is like, "What does truncheon happy mean?" And then me and these manx are trying to, they just love their truncheons. But no, I thought the City fans were pure class. In fact, one of them said, "You know what? We've won everything. We've won absolutely everything. So we don't mind." They said this to my girls. "We don't mind that you've won this today." And then one of the girls goes, "Did you stay and clap Crystal Palace when they lifted the trophy?" And then, like, precision, Caroline Ahern would have applauded this guy's timing. He just went, "No."
No, spoil it if they'd have said,
as in like, we're nice guys, but let's not take the piss.
Yeah. This isn't cricket.
Yeah.
No, it was brilliant. It was just an absolutely amazing day, and I don't think anything could match that now. No. I think if we won the Champions League, I don't think it could match that.
No,
it's yeah, and it's very interesting though, isn't it, about the psychology of that it sort of reveals, because now when I hear people getting grumpy about the club, a few people, I think,
"Are you insane?
Really? Are you insane?" And I thought, so again, for people who, and I could forgive anyone for not following it as closely as we do. We go to Europe. One of the teams we play is the 3rd best team in Cyprus, and we managed to lose at home to them. And you know what? I think most Palace fans found that funny. I mean, annoying, but funny.
It stays a little in my heart. It was very Palace.
Yeah. I know. I think they're a terrific bunch, and the manager's great. And I don't know how long it lasts. And it's quite possible that in 20 years' time we'll be like in the middle of the 2nd division, like we always used to be. I don't know. I hope not.
I mean, that was really Stephen Brower. What happened there with the final was really kind of, the seats that we had. I mean, that was
fantastic,
unbelievable. And so I said to my girls this season, I said, "Right, we've got the programs from the final. Let's try, girls. Why don't, as a challenge, you get your program signed by the Palace players?" And they've really run with it.
And how they got
but I did such a dad thing, and I went, "While you're getting yours signed, maybe you could." Get your dad signed. So yeah, we've got most of the. So there's Gay, there's Henderson, there's Hughes, there's Lerma, Munoz, Wharton. There's a couple still to go, but you're right. They are a lovely bunch.
Yeah, no, they're great, aren't they? I think they're sort of socially aware as well now, footballers, in a way that they weren't 50 years ago, which is incredible, really, because they're much richer now than they used to be, and yet they seem to be. They're just much more sort of I know loads of footballers were in the old days, and they were much more connected with their working class backgrounds and that. But they're much more socially aware, I think, now. I mean, I even saw sort of Wayne Rooney in an interview recently talking about his interest in Black history. Well, that's pretty cool, isn't it?
I didn't know that about Rooney. That's amazing.
Yeah. And I thought, oh no, probably he's talked to Ferdinand and other players, and he's like gone, oh yes, this is really interesting that, and a lot are obviously a lot of the Palace players are very Christian, so but that will sort of bring with it an interest in sort of politics and social things and that stuff. I might be reading too much into it.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you, and I've said to you before. I do think the Christian, the positivity of that Christian group. I do. I mean, I do think there's something in it. There's a Bible group. They're all very, they clearly love each other.
And they're a terrific bunch. And of course, we know this, that a team that has got, the military will be aware of this. If you've got a tight unit of 15 people or so on that identifies with each other, then you are much, much greater than the sum of your parts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, look, we'll wrap it there because the three of us are meeting at church in 10 minutes. Right, Mark, thank you very much. We're really grateful. Thanks for everything.
It was great fun.
That was great. Really, really great. That was a special one. So thanks very much, Mark. We'll hopefully see you soon. Hopefully if you do the Palladium and you need to run through the show before the Palladium.
Absolutely, definitely, yeah.
You know where we are. Cheers, Mark. I'll see you soon.
Cheers, Mark.
Cheers, lads. That was fantastic. Big thanks to Mark Steele. By the way, if it looks like I'm recording these bits from inside a goldfish bowl, it's because so much information on this. We had some electricians around, and I love these guys. They've done a few jobs for us. I love them so much. There was an accidental snafu with a fiber optic cable, so it does mean that I'm hotspotting off my phone onto the laptop. So this is the laptop camera. Tim, it's one of those cameras where you press a button and it's very James Bond, and a camera pops up where the button was.
I've only ever seen it in your laptop, and I think it's absolutely fascinating. Yes, for the video viewers, you get to see a new angle off the James Gill office. It's fantastic stuff.
Yeah, you do. You really do. And I can't apologise enough. I'll be honest with you. Right, Tim, your favourite Mark Steele memory?
I've got two.
I know.
I've got two.
Sorry, go for it.
And one is very schmaltzy and one is very wanky showbiz. So you've got the best of both worlds.
Win-win.
So schmaltzy one, Mark, of course, had to take a big break through quite extensive cancer treatment. And I'm very, very, very honoured that the first place he did a gig back was Always Be Comedy. It was with Josh Whitcomb, I believe. And that genuinely means a huge amount. I thought it was wonderful to have him. And it means a lot that he decided Always Be Comedy would be the place he makes his stand-up return. So that's what a lovely one.
To be fair, that is a great one. Also, as he told the story on the pod, he's a friend. We were in constant. I mean, we're always in a lot of contact because, as Tim says, we see each other on Tuesdays. But yeah, Tim, it's that fine line between wanting to, if you can play any small part in helping a hero of comedy get back into stand-up, then that is, I believe, if you're associated with a place such as Always Be Comedy, then that is your duty. But then it's also the fine line of I don't want to be the guy that rushed back a sick man.
No, absolutely not. Thankfully, he came back when he was ready. Thank God, because also that set was brilliant. Another memory I could have had was when he did a set which literally went to closing hours of the pub. Like, it literally had to be right. Unfortunately, everyone needs to leave because this place literally needs to shut.
That was iconic. Sorry, Tim, what was that?
Curfew busting.
It was curfew busting. It really was. Yeah. Well, mine has to be. It's got to be the FA. It has to be the FA Cup final.
Yeah, it did.
And Castelli's shared that lovely memory with his son, and obviously that tops everything. You know, of course, that tops giving a mate a cuddle after the final. Of course, it does. But there, as I said to Mark, it was a lovely moment. I was with my daughters. And as I say, you can see that picture. I'm sure we can reshare it. any excuse to share a picture from the FA Cup final. But yeah, my two girls, their emotion is just happy because they've seen their beloved Crystal Palace win a cup. But for Mark and I, it's gone so much deeper, and especially for Mark. You know, I was going to say he's a very special comedian. He's also Tim. He's a very dear friend. Again, it's his schmaltz, but he's a very dear friend of the night, and he's a very beloved comedian, isn't he, Tim? He's one of those guys. He's one of those guys. Actually, I think everybody loves Mark.
Oh my God! Of course, yeah. A completely beloved figure, and there'll be people who have discovered him through his son Elliot Steele. So it's like a whole new generation of people because, of course, their relationship is documented very well. Like they're a wonderful father-son combo, and there'll be people in their 20s who are now massive Mark Steele fans because they love Elliot.
I wonder if they've ever had that moment. I think it's Paul Theroux tells the story. He's in a restaurant with his son, and someone comes up and goes, "Please, may I have an autograph?" And Paul Theroux gets his pen out, and he's like, "Oh, here we bloody go!" And of course, it's not Paul they're talking to; it's Louis. I wonder if the Steele's. Oh, can I have a picture? And Mark's gone. Oh, anything for a fan? And then Elliot's.
Almost certainly. Yeah, of course.
It must. I mean, it must happen quite a lot with those sorts of father-son. The Lampards. I bet it's happened with Kelly Cates and Adele. On and on and on.
Yeah.
Yeah. God. You know what? God bless them both.
God bless them both. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people.
What a loving. I've really got over losing the internet. Thanks, Tim.
You're so welcome. It was a joy to have him.
Right. Well, look, as ever, thank you very much for the shares, all of that. I know you don't say retweets anymore, but always grateful. We will see you at a show soon. Be sure to come over and say hello. Huge and heartfelt thanks, as always. Tim, thank you. We'll see you soon. Bye.